in Pangasinan School of Arts and Trades. He is also successfully finished the Doctor of Philosophy in Language Teaching in Lyceum Northwest University. And he also have his Master in Education, major in English, and Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication degree in St. Louis University. And he is former the radio reporter of Bombo Radio Philippines from 2008 to 2009, then transferred to JMA Network Incorporated and was hired as supervising producer of Primera Balita from 2009 to 2014. He then joined the Academe in 2014 as college instructor in Pangasinan State University and joined the DepEd community in 2016. He was awarded as one of the outstanding teachers in 2020 World Teachers Day celebration. He also enjoys public speaking and has been invited to numerous events as resource person, and some of the topics that he enjoys sharing it includes journalism and broadcasting, gender and development, professional education, and others. So let's have a virtual clap and let's welcome our last speaker for this afternoon, Dr. Roland P. Umangay. Let's have a virtual clap.
Ako na ba? Okay, good afternoon everyone. Paano mag-share dito?
Afternoon din po, sir.
Oh my God. Saglit lang po ha. Saan na yun?
Sige lang po, Sir Roland. So while waiting po for Sir Roland, reminder lang po ulit sa mga hindi pa po nag-register, mag-register na po kayo to acknowledge your presence po at mabigyan po kayo ng certificate. Thank you po.
Paano mag-share ng screen?
Sa baba, sir, yung share screen po.
Share screen. Nag-share na ba?
Yes, sir, may nakikita na po kami.
Oh. Ano pong nakikita niyo, ma'am?
Okay na po, sir. Kita na po.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ma'am Farshalin. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you still have the energy and enthusiasm to listen to the last topic for today, which I will be delivering in a short while. We all know that attending webinars nowadays is really taxing on the part of the participants because of the long time of exposure to our computer or cell phone screens. But this district seminar workshop would have been more exciting if it were done face to face. But I commend everyone who still possesses the energy to continue with the webinar, and I hope that we will get through this last topic with flying colors. Okay, so the topic assigned to me by our proponent, Ma'am Jonalyn Casipit, is the building of communicative competence through oral language instruction. This topic is related to the previous topics discussed this morning and the first discussed on this afternoon. Actually, all the topics included here in our webinar are interrelated with each other. And all students benefit from having opportunities to express themselves in oral language if they are using the language. But if they are using the other language, such as English or their second or third language, just like our learners inside our classrooms, irrespective of their first language environment, or for students who come from language impoverished environments, opportunities provided in school that stimulate discussion may serve as an essential foundation for growth in literacy. So that is why it is our responsibility to take charge of the learners once they step into our classroom. So what I am trying to emphasize here is the scenario wherein a learner does not have an environment where language skills, specifically the oral language, is not so healthy. Okay, say the learner's parents are not properly educated, not illiterate, but not so good in English language. His or her siblings are also not good in using the English language. How can this learner grow in literacy? Okay, so that is why it is very important for us teachers to be there on their side for and give them the best and essential foundation for literacy growth. So ito yung title ng ating session, The Building of Communicative Competence through Oral Language Instruction. So here are our objectives for this session. We should define oral language, discuss how oral language affects the development of literacy skills, demonstrate understanding of instructional strategies which explicitly develop oral language skills through literacy-related tasks, and finally, demonstrate desirable classroom teaching practices. Okay, so meron tayong ipo-point out dito yung mga desirable or best practices in teaching the oral language that reflect gained understanding of sound methodologies in developing the oral language skills of our learners. Okay, but before that, we will first have a game. Okay, so I'll be asking you, or I'll be showing you some questions. Tell me if this statement is true or if the statement is false, and then maybe I could follow up a question why. Okay, so I'll be calling names from our participants, so please get ready. Our first activity is true or false. Okay, the first statement is oral language is the ability to speak and listen. Is this true or is this false? Anyone can raise a hand and answer. Walang mag-raise ng hand. Can we have Ma'am Minalyn Garce? Siya yung una ko nakita sa screen.
True, true.
Okay, why
True,
true? Okay, later on we will have the discussion on why this statement is true. So the correct answer is true. Thank you very much, Ma'am Minalyn. How about the second statement? Oral language problems have little impact on the reading and writing difficulties of learners. Let's have Melissa Ballesteros. Ma'am Melissa Ballesteros. Is the statement true or is it false? Ma'am Melissa.
Sir, false.
Okay, so the answer is false. You are correct. The third one, oral language is at the base of literacy. Can we have Ma'am Minda Paulo? Is this true or false? Ay, wala. Okay. May I call on Ma'am Rinalyn V. Fernandez to answer question number 3 or statement number 3 if it is true or false? Ma'am Rinalyn Fernandez.
I think true, sir.
Okay, so oral language is at the base of literacy. That is true. Thank you very much. How about number 4? All children are fortunate to be born into homes where parents or caregivers provide rich language experiences. These children enter schools with good oral language skills. Can we have Ma'am Rhea, Christis, and Diane? Is the statement true or is the statement false? All children are fortunate to be born into homes where parents or caregivers provide rich language experiences. These children enter schools with good oral language skills. True or false? Okay, let's have Ma'am Josefina Tandingan.
Sir, false po.
Okay, so the answer is false. Okay, for the explanation of that statement later, we will see why the correct answer is false. And finally, we have the 5th statement. Children who have strong oral language skills often have strong reading and writing skills. Can we have, yung mga hindi sumasagot, are they still with us? Ma'am Jonna Kasipit. Children who have strong oral language skills often have strong reading and writing skills. True or false?
False.
Okay.
Children who have strong oral language. Sorry, sir, hindi ko naman.
O sige, ulit.
Take it, sir. Children. False talaga kasi yung often.
Okay, so false. False.
False.
The answer is
False
true.
na lang po, Charles.
The answer is true.
Okay.
Sabi niya, children who have strong oral language skills often have strong reading and writing skills. Later on, we will go through that para makita natin that the statement is true. Okay, so let's go to another activity. Okay, so this time, I'll be showing you pictures, and then once I call your name, you tell me something about the picture. You can create your own story about it or give a news type presentation or anything, as long as you share to all of us what are your thoughts about the picture being shown on the screen. Okay, so sana once I called your name, sana you also answer, you participate. May tatlo na tayong natawag that I think they have not participated in that first activity. Okay, so let's have the picture. The first picture is this. Okay, what can you say about the picture or tell us something about it? Create a story about it. Let's have, sino pa ba yung hindi natatawag? Ma'am Argentina Aviles, what can you say about the picture?
The child is using a slingshot to shot. I don't know, sir. What he is about to shot. What I know is he is holding a slingshot. He is about to shot Sir Roland Umangay.
Why me? There is something wrong. Okay, so thank you very much, Argentina Aviles. Let's have the next picture. Okay, what can you say about the picture? Can we have Ma'am Mary Ann? Uy, sumama si Ma'am Mary Ann.
Sir, I think my father is thinking about me. Is he thinking if I'm safe here in school?
Is he your father?
Yes, my father
mother
might be
father?
thinking about me. Yes.
Okay. Parang isa na lang yung nagre-recite. Okay, the third picture. Ayan, Ma'am Fershalen Bilen. I know you can relate to that.
Yeah. The teacher is having a read aloud to the students of maybe the story of Sir Roland Umangay.
I'm the apple of your eyes today.
Oh, yes po. And the students are attentive to their teacher while the teacher is reading the story for them. So maybe the
Okay.
teacher is asking some stopping points so that the teacher could the teacher could know if the students have their comprehension to the story.
Okay, that's quite amazing. Okay, let's have the next picture. Okay, how about that? What can you say about the picture? Do we have Ma'am Minda Paulo now? Awanan pa. Ma'am Rhea Christie, andito na siya. Awanan pa. Okay, let's have Ma'am. Hello.
Hello po.
Sige po, Ma'am Rhea. Go, Ma'am Rhea. What can you say
Hello
about the
po, good
picture?
afternoon. I can say that they're like us attending the seminar and listening to the talk of Sir Roland Umangay.
Maybe.
Lahat related sa'yo, sir.
Okay. What else? Wala na. Okay, let's have the next picture. Okay, I think this is the last picture. Can we have...
So they're singing.
Pagbigyan na natin kay Ma'am Argentina. Go, Ma'am Argentina.
They're all singing a happy birthday to me. To Sir Roland. Because today is Sir Roland's birthday. So his family is very happy to celebrate his birthday.
So araw ko talaga today. Okay, so...
Yes.
Ay, meron pa pala. Okay, wag na natin ituloy. So those are examples of wordless picture books. These wordless picture books provide lots of opportunities for developing oral language. From the name itself, wordless picture, lets learners express what they think about the picture. Okay, so we can use that inside our classroom so that we can get ideas from our students. And as we introduce the book, use rich vocabulary and expand the story with many details as you explore the pictures. Once you have read the story several times, it can be placed in the conversation station if we have one in our classrooms, and the students can retell the story to their classmates. That is also one of the effective strategies or reading strategies that we can employ to our students. So in that activity, vocabulary plays a vital role in enhancing the oral language skills of the learners. But what if the teacher's vocabulary is not that rich? What will happen to the students? Good for the language teachers like us, kahit papaano, good for us because we have plenty of words deposited in our word bank, or we also call it vocab bank. Okay? So did you enjoy the activity? Siguro mas maganda if we are having the face-to-face, no? Magkakaroon ng tawanan. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I wish I have put more than 7 pictures in that activity so everyone can participate. But don't you worry because we still have a lot of activities later. Okay, so let's move on. Oral language. One of the serious problems of reading teachers nowadays is the reading problem of learners. Okay, so all of us are encountering students who can hardly read, or sometimes they really cannot understand what they have read. They can read, but they can not comprehend. And I, as a senior high school teacher, also encountered senior high students. So may I put emphasis on that? Senior high school students who can barely read words. Okay, so they can read words such as in, on, at, but, was, but if you add more letters to those words, they cannot read it already. Okay, so they fall under the frustrated reader, and it pains me to see them struggle in my subject. For the information of everyone, I am teaching reading and writing and creative writing. So how can these learners write their own stories or write their own essays or narratives if they cannot read? So that will be a very big problem on my part and a very big problem on their part. So a very important aspect that may provide us with the key to the reading problems many of our students are in is the oral language development. That is why the Department of Education is pushing through with these kinds of webinars so that we can see the real problem why there are some students or learners who cannot read, who are frustrated readers, who are slow readers, and so on and so forth. So we should be supporting the oral language as early as the primary years of our learners. So what is oral language? Okay, oral language is the system through which spoken words are used to express knowledge, ideas, and feelings. At the most basic level, it means communicating with other people. Okay, so I'll be putting more emphasis on the word communication or communicating. Oral language underscores the word communication. Therefore, oral language is the ability to speak and listen. Not just to speak, but also to listen. The development of thinking and reading abilities is closely linked to the development of oral language. And developing oral language means developing skills and knowledge that go into listening and speaking. So in both ways, speaking, listening, and when there is speaking and listening, there is an understanding. And so with oral language. And developing oral language means developing all of this, all of which have a strong relationship to reading comprehension and writing. So yung isang statement that I have shown you before, sabi niya doon, there is a strong relationship between reading comprehension and writing. Once you can comprehend what you have read, you can also write essays or narratives with a good content. So see how all these things I mentioned are connected with each other for the purpose of reading comprehension and also writing, because one cannot comprehend without a developed oral language. May I repeat that? One cannot comprehend if his or her oral language is not developed. That is why oral language development is very, very important. As early as maybe primary years of a learner, he or she must have possessed all of this already. Okay, so what do researchers tell us? Okay, we have here the big 6 of reading. Okay, we have phonological awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, comprehension, and oral language. All of these big 6 are included in our webinar. They are all interrelated and interconnected with each other. Kung mapapansin nyo, these are the topics which were included in our matrix. An integral approach to explicit reading instruction is essential to provide relevant learning connected to other experiences. Ano ba itong tinatawag natin na explicit reading instruction? What do we mean by this? What does explicit reading instruction look like? Okay, so explicit instruction is also known as fully guided. Okay, fully guided. Teachers who follow an explicit approach explain, demonstrate, and model everything. So tatlo yun. We have explain, demonstrate, and model everything. Say, from blending sounds together to decode words, to writing a complex sentence, using different figurative language, to kicking a football or even cooking. So we have to identify a clear and specific objective when we are doing this explicit instruction. Break the information into chunks so that the learners can easily understand the small bits of or small pieces of ideas or knowledge, and then we model it with clear explanation. We verbalize the thinking process, and then we provide opportunities to practice and then give feedback. Okay? So yung explicit approach is that I do, we do, and then you do. So gagawin ni teacher, I do, sabay niyong gagawin, teacher and learner, we do, and finally, you do. Okay? We have here the foundations of reading in the early years. Okay, we have the 6 components of reading. We have oral language, phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. This, the 6th component of reading is here to reflect the range of research, emphasizing the importance of oral language development to the reading process. Magkadikit yung oral language development doon sa reading process. Why? Because we are focusing on reading remediation. We want our learners to understand the importance of reading. We want our learners to learn how to read, and we want them to comprehend what they have read. Okay? So I have taken this one from the research of Snow and others in 1998 and Wise and other researchers. Oral language provides the foundation for learning to read and is related to overall reading achievement throughout the primary and secondary schooling. Okay, so that is a research made by different researchers to let us know the importance of oral language. Okay, so when children are surrounded by and they are included in increasingly complex conversations, they expand vocabulary. Okay, so that is why teachers are being tasked and asked to have, what do you call this one? The oral presentation or recitation inside their classroom so that we can, the students can expand their vocabulary, they increase their complexity of the language structure used, and they become language risk takers. Diba? They are not afraid to use the language. They are not afraid to use different words and use vocabularies which are unfamiliar, and they develop confidence. Once a student has a very rich vocabulary and he or she has a very strong oral language skill, definitely he develops a confidence in the way they communicate. They also clarify their thinking and deepen their understanding of their word. And finally, they tune into the words or the sounds of standard language. Kung mapapansin niyo, those who are reading a lot can also speak a lot. Or sa panahon kasi natin, there are very few students or learners who read, but they are very willing to watch. Lalong-lalo na yung mga K-drama. That one that I have just finished watching, yung Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. I am more focused on the subtitle kasi napakaganda yung pagkakabuo ng mga subtitles sa English. It is very, very good. They used a very wide vocabulary and they specifically chosen the right words to emphasize the drama in that Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha thingy. Okay, so therefore, teachers are powerful role models. Dapat we start within ourselves, because if we cannot express ourselves using the English language properly, most probably our students or learners can also follow us because we are their role models. So teaching intentionally and with the use of the DI, or we call it differentiated instruction, we as teachers must also cater to all the needs of our learners, not just one type of learner, but all the types of learners. Kaya we have the differentiated instruction. And one strategy may be good to some, but that strategy might not be as good to others. You must think of different teaching strategies that will suit the needs of our learners, especially in teaching reading. So, what is oral language? Ulit, diba? This is what I told you a little earlier, that based from the research conducted by Snow, Wise, and others, oral language provides the foundation for learning to read and is related to overall reading achievement throughout the primary and secondary schooling. Okay. So what is oral language? Oral language is the child's first, most important, and most frequently used structured medium of communication. Okay. That is taken from Cregan 1998, as cited in Archer, Cregan, McGo, Shell in 2012. It is the primary. It is the primary, which means through which each individual child will be enabled to structure, to evaluate, to describe, and to control his or her experience. Kasi sabi niya dyan, child's first, most important, and most frequently used. Okay? So oral language functions as a foundation for literacy as the means of learning in school and out. That is a research from Fillmore and Snow in 2002. So oral language lays the foundation for the reading and writing skills children will develop as they enter the progress through school. They will use oral language in all aspects of their education, may it be inside the classroom as they connect with their classmates or peers or teachers, and throughout their lives as they grow into adulthood. Because we are also looking at the future of our learners. They will become professionals later on. They will become maybe teachers just like us, and so on and so forth. Okay, so having a solid foundation in oral language will help our children or our learners become successful readers and strong communicators, as well as build their confidence and overall sense of well-being. Okay, because oral language is the base of basic literacy. Kaya true yung statement kanina. Okay, sabi niya dyan, children who have strong oral language skills often have strong reading and writing skills. Kaya true din yung statement kanina. In contrast, children with oral language problems are at higher risk of reading and writing difficulties. Okay, so totoo naman. If children have a strong oral language skills, most probably they can apply that to reading and also in writing. Proficiency in oral language provides children with a vital tool for thought. Without fluency in structured oral language, children will find it very difficult to think. Which is also, that statement is also justified by Jerome Bruner. He said, proficiency in oral language provides children with a vital tool for thought. Without fluent and structured oral language, children will find it difficult or very difficult to think. And since I said that it is the most basic level, oral language is about communicating with other people. Okay, so it involves a process of utilizing their thinking, their knowledge, and skills in order to speak and listen effectively. So may word tayo doon na effectively. As such, it is central to the lives of all people because oral language permeates every facet of the primary school curriculum. Ayan, nakapasok na siya sa curriculum. Not just in English, not just in Filipino, but all throughout the subjects in the curriculum. the development of oral language is given an importance as great as that of reading and writing at every level in the curriculum. It has an equal, equal weighting or equal weight with them in the integrated language process. Okay, so also children need to use oral language to develop their powers of reasoning and observation and prediction, isama mo na rin dyan yung sequencing and other skills connected with reading. That is why there are some learners who are afraid to recite. Okay, so I know you already experienced this. There are some students who are afraid to recite because they sometimes are afraid to raise a hand because they might be judged by their classmates, or sometimes pati yung teacher ginajudge yung learner or yung student pag hindi nakapag-recite once you call their name. Okay, so I'm talking about the learners who can read simple words. They can also understand simple vocabulary or simple language, but are afraid to talk or to reason out or to share their thoughts or ideas because their oral language is not as sturdy or is not as strong as compared to others. See the difference? Children with proficient oral language are confident, while those who are not are shy. They are also timid. Diba? They are nahihiya to recite. So why oral language? Why do we need to teach oral language, or why do we need to develop oral language or oral language skills of our learners? Okay, so we have here the language to literacy model. Okay, so basahin natin ng kaunti. We have the oral language, phonological awareness, phonics, decoding and spelling, reading comprehension, and so on and so forth. Paulit-ulit yan nalalabas dito sa ating slides. Okay? So sabi niyo dyan, language and literacy, children speaking and listening. Hindi ko mabasa yung isa. Okay, children's speaking and listening lead the way for the reading and writing skills, and together these language skills are the primary tools of the mind for future learning. Okay, so if children do not have a solid foundation in oral language, communicating effectively and learning to read can be a long and difficult process. Okay? So, yan yung sinabi ni Tabers and Lenhart. Sabi niya, children speaking and listening lead to the way their reading and writing skills, and together, these language skills are primary tools of the mind for all future learning. Okay. Oral language is an integral part of all learning experiences. Saglit lang po Inom lang ako ng kaunti. Okay, so sabi niyo dyan, oral language is not taught as separate component of literacy program. It is an embedded component in all content areas, oral language standards, objectives, and enabling outcomes. The learning outcomes are part of the language arts curriculums from grade 1 to 8. Therefore, we can say that one basic problem is the language experience gap, or we also call it word poverty. According to Moulds, 2001, children arrive in kindergarten with huge discrepancies in oral language development, and the gap between language advanced and language delayed children grows throughout the elementary years. Okay, so the development of oral language is given an importance as great as that of reading and writing at every level in the curriculum, because it has an equal weight with them in the integrated language process. Although the curriculum or our curriculum places a strong emphasis on oral language, it has been widely acknowledged that the implementation of the oral language strand has proved challenging and taxing. Mahirap din siya kung tutusin. That is why every teacher must work hand in hand to create this vision of DepEd that there must be no learner who cannot read, or there must be no learner who will be left behind when it comes to reading. Because not all children are fortunate to be born into homes where parents or caregivers provide rich language experiences. Ito yung isang statement earlier that we answered true or false. These disadvantaged children enter our kindergartens lacking oral language skills. Just like what I had said earlier, there are learners lacking oral language skills before entering the kindergarten because of the environment they are into. Okay, so the environment plays a vital role in shaping the language or the oral language of a learner. And it greatly affects the learner's ability to communicate once they enter the classroom. And so we should be reminded of our responsibility as teachers to lend a hand to these less fortunate learners, or should I say less fortunate learners in terms of oral language skills. Okay, so one great teaching strategy that we can employ is the explicit instruction. Okay, so explicit instruction in oral language development provides students with the foundation for comprehending text and communicating effectively. Thus, teachers serve an essential role in developing students' reading and writing skills. Ito na yung sinasabi ko kanina. So, listen and do, and listen and say. It's like I do, we do, and you do, yung sinabi ko kanina, so that there will be a total physical response. Okay, there is an evidence that some teachers may have struggled to implement this component because of the underlying framework was unclear to them. Okay, ang masasabi ko dyan, yes. Teachers can be instrumental in closing the language experience gap. Students who struggle with a language deficit will need as many language-rich experiences as well as a systematic and explicit instruction to help them catch up to their more verbal peers. Kasi if we will not do that, mas mahihiya yung mga learners and they will lose confidence in speaking with their classmates, in reciting inside our classroom during recitation, and so on and so forth. So, who needs oral language development? Sino ang nangangailangan ng oral language development? Yung mga learners lang ba na may deficit sa oral language? Yung mga learners lang ba who cannot read? Yung mga learners lang ba who are laid behind the confident students when it comes to speaking and writing? No. All students need oral language development. It's not just the English language learners, okay? It's not just the English language learners that need to practice oral language. Today, in our society does not encourage oral language development because there are various situations such as two-income households or one-parent family, di ba? Yung mga ganong scenario, and family dynamics rarely allow family members to sit down and simply talk. Kasi some parents are busy working, so they don't have time for their children. They don't have time to ask their sons or daughters about what happened during the day, about their plans, about their dreams, and so on and so forth. That is also one of the environments that greatly affect the oral language development of a child. Okay, so technology such as TV, video games, computers, personal listening devices, and even the DVD players in vehicles discourage oral conversations and language development. Kasi instead of, just like us, diba, when we are going out, we have our cell phones. Instead of talking to each other, sharing our stories, sometimes we do not do that because we are busy with our cell phones. Sino ba yung at risk dyan? The Generation Z. We call them Generation Z. They are more focused on their gadgets. Okay. So is it possible for teachers to design instruction that will close the language experience gap? Is it possible? Or, okay, is it possible? Of course it is. But it is kasi teachers, sabi ko nga kanina, are powerful role models. And we are employing explicit teaching. We teach intentionally and explicitly. We also have the reading programs. Okay, so some about schools we have reading programs. But why do we still have non-readers or slow readers? Why do we still have them? Why do we still have students who struggle in school? Yun yung big question sa atin. And that question will I will leave that to you, and you will answer that all by your heart. Okay, so we have reading programs, but we still have non-readers or frustrated readers or students who struggle in school. Okay, so the answer lies within us, teachers or language teachers. Okay, so ano oras na? We have here the 5 components for effective oral language instruction. Okay, so we have promote auditory memory, develop listening and speaking skills, teach and extend vocabulary and conceptual knowledge, create a language learning environment, and teach a variety of spoken text. Okay, so we have 5. Isa-isahin natin yan. Don't you worry because I'll be doing it this very swiftly para mabilis tayo. Ayun, wala. Okay, component 1, developing listening and speaking skills. Okay, how well children develop conversation skills can influence how well they interact with each other. Okay, so yung interaction is very important, or conversation or dialogue. Conversing with children is not the only way to increase vocabulary. Okay, however, strategies teachers use while reading with and to children can also build their word banks. Pag nanonood tayo ng mga pelikula or yung mga teleserye, there are some scenes there wherein a mother is reading a story to her son or daughter. That alone can help a child create a wide vocabulary or can build their own word banks. So asking open-ended questions also is also one way. Questions in which there is no right or wrong answer. Yung open-ended questions, there is no right, there is no wrong answer, but they are just going to give their idea, share their knowledge about the question. Because this helps us teachers assess children's comprehension, but also helps them learn more vocabulary words. Okay? So, pwede rin yun. We ask them open-ended questions. Okay. So, the vast majority, approximately 80% of teacher talk. Ito yung mga sinasabi nating traditional teachers, they do the talking most of the time inside the classroom. Okay, is focused on tasks, giving instruction, providing information, or correcting behavior or information. Of this talk, 80% of it consists of low-level questions that ask children to recall information rather than open-ended questions requiring children to think at higher levels. So how do you develop the speaking and listening skills of your learners or the students? What kind of experience do you provide your learners in terms of communicating their thoughts, their feelings, their ideas, or are your children the yes and no type of learners? Okay, so the obvious part to participating in talk is the ability to listen. If a children or if a learner, if a child or a learner cannot participate in a talk, he cannot converse well, then that will become a problem. Conversation is a two-way process. Paulit-ulit nating tinuturan sa mga bata. It's a two-way process. If one learner is always talking and the other one
Yan na lang
is
kita pag okay.
just listening, walang mangyayari. They must do the
Ay,
same way. One talks, one listens, and then the listener talks, the receiver listens. Simple as that. Although children's oral or expressive language often gets emphasized, receptive language or listening is equally important. Okay, so the ability to listen is also a key component in learning. It is the way the children take in information through hearing, and if he listens to that, he could also interpret the information. Okay, so children and also adults can be taught to be good listeners, not just the children but also us adults. A primary way of helping children participate as listeners and speakers in conversations is for teachers to model good listening and speaking techniques all by ourselves. Dapat kung ano yung ginagawa natin or dapat kung ano yung gusto nating gawin ng ating mga students, dapat yun din yung ginagawa natin because we are their role models.
Yung printer ng English
Sira ang printer. Nagbili.
So how do children learn to talk? Yan. Nandiyan na, basahin na lang natin. Encouragement to talk in a variety of situations, with a variety of people, repetitive language, a purpose for talking, an expectation to communicate, opportunities to use and practice language. Okay? So remember, yung sinabi ko kanina, yung word poverty. Okay? So one of the reasons why there are some learners who cannot effectively communicate, yung word poverty, o yung home environment, they're not used to talking with other people, okay, and the social environment also, if their environment or if their society is not as healthy as others, definitely children will have the difficulty in learning how to talk or how to converse with other people. Okay, so in what context is oral language taught? Yan na. Social interaction, literacy, numeracy, sensory motor activities, developmental play, inquiry-based activities, language experience activities, and content of all learning areas. Okay? So these things are very, very good. Or these things are very, very bad. Pwedeng ganun yung conversation natin. Okay, so that's good and that's bad is a good conversation starter. Okay, so that will help your students become motivated to talk. Siguro we will also encourage them to give their ideas and not be afraid in sharing their ideas or knowledge about the things that you want them to talk about. Just like what I have shown you earlier, the picture stories or the wordless pictures. We encourage them to say whatever they want to say, to tell whatever they want to tell their classmates or anyone in front, or anyone in the classroom, or anyone in their group. Okay, so talk with your children, get close and listen, respond and expand. Okay, so it is our responsibility to respond and expand. Kasi pag ang isang student, if a student ask us something, tapos ang sagot lang natin is very short, very simple, tapos hindi na mag-expand, mahihiya na yung learner na magtanong sa'yo sa susunod. So, by the word expand, pahabain mo yung conversation para mas matuto siyang makipag-usap. Okay? Although, we are also experiencing that some students now are very talkative, they talk a lot. We also have to guide them in speaking to older people, something like that. Pero yung pagiging talkative when it comes to recitation, that is good. Okay? Do not ask them to stop talking when they are saying something about the topic, as long as what they are saying is still inside the topic. There are 3 things that we have to remember when we develop listening and speaking skills of students. So why do you think explicitly modeling the pragmatics of the language, or sometimes you cannot teach everything, and even if you teach them, the students might not be able to catch it. Okay, so modeling is very important. That is why meron din akong nasabi kanina na chunking of ideas. Dapat chunk natin. We do not give them all at once. We chunk the information so that they can take those information or bits of information easily. Kasi pag buo, mahihirapan sila. Pero pag maliit-maliit na binibigyan natin, they can go along with information easily. And you know what? Children are very good observers. They are very good observers of the pragmatics. They follow what you say, and sometimes they do not follow what you do. Okay, so gone are the days when being talkative is seen as negative in the classroom. Wala na yun. Consider writing them on a set of note cards to keep with you whenever you want to promote conversation with a child. Make conversation a game by maybe asking the child to pick a card to initiate a conversation. Pwede ring magbigay kayo ng mga situations like, what if you win a trip for 2 to Disneyland? Who would you want to bring and why? Okay, so by simple asking them some scenarios like that, makakapag-create sila ng ideas at makakapag-share sila ng kanilang mga dreams or hopes in their lives. So what if you ask to choose a place to go? Where would you want to go? Pwedeng ganun yung mga questions. Or what if you were born in a rich family, or if you were a king, if you were a queen, something like that. So makakapag-create sila ng kanilang mga ideas. Okay, so that is component number 1, developing listening and speaking skills. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Component 2, teach a variety of spoken text. Okay, so the primary purpose of language is to communicate needs, wants, ideas, information, and feelings. Many theorists claim that the different purposes for which we use language fall under various categories. Okay, so one seminal piece of research was carried out by British linguist Michael Holliday. Kung naalala nyo to, lalong-lalo na sa ating mga language teachers, si Holliday, meron siyang binuo na 7 functions of language, which is commonly known as Holliday's functions of language. So we have the instrumental, regulatory, interactional, personal, heuristic, imaginary, and representational. Pwedeng gamitin yan to teach a variety of spoken text. Okay. 3 criteria for oral language competence. Sabi ni Holbrook, it sets out the 3 criteria for oral language competence: the fluency, clarity, and sensitivity. Okay, component number 3, create a language learning environment. It is important that the classroom environment is supportive and nurturing, where a variety of communication styles are valued, accepted, and accommodated. Teachers can design differentiated teaching and learning activities that draw on pupils' interest, knowledge, and skills. Okay, so in creating a language learning environment, teachers will also support students by helping them to develop strategies to use when speaking and listening for different contexts. Okay, so by providing authentic purposes and audiences for speaking and listening, these learners will become confident and they'll become more enthusiastic and energetic communicators. Okay, so a language learning environment can be created by focusing on 3 key elements. The first one is the physical environment. Ano ba yung tinatawag natin na physical environment? By enriching the physical environment of the classroom, multiple opportunities for engaging oral interaction and development will exist. Ang daming nagsisend ng ano. The second one is the classroom culture. The classroom culture is by enriching the physical environment of the classroom, we create multiple opportunities for engaging the oral interaction and development. Okay, so paano ba natin yan ginagawa? We can create a classroom culture of have a go. O kaya be sensitive to cultural differences. Say we have students not just cultural differences, but also their religions, their beliefs, and so on and so forth. We must be sensitive to that. And we should also emphasize enjoyment for all, not just a group of students, but also all the students inside your classroom. And we should also value social talk and the use of language used in the home, and also seize the moment if something unusual in the school happens or if a child brings something to the school, and also encourage all attempts by the learners at both speaking and listening. Dapat hindi tayo nagiging one-sided. Dapat binibigyan natin sila lahat ng opportunity to talk, opportunity to listen. Okay. The third one is opportunities for communication. Okay, communication happens all the time in the classroom. By taking advantage of certain communication opportunities, students can be exposed to multiple oral language, context, and uses. O, paano ba natin ito gagawin? How can we use this as a teaching strategy inside our classroom? Okay, so pwedeng poetry. Ang ginagawa ko dati, nung nagtuturo pa ako sa college, na hindi naman siya effective sa klase ko ngayon because yung mga previous class ko wala pa kaming Humes. We just offered humanities and social sciences strand this year. Usually ang mga klase ko ay mga automotive, kaya hindi siya naging effective. Have a weekly poem that is read and discussed daily. Okay? Pwedeng ganon. Ensure that it is large enough for students to see so that they can watch as you track while reading, or introduce it on Monday, discuss the rhythm, rhyming words, and skills that are emphasized in that piece. Or meron din akong ginawa yung every day na papasok yung mga klase ko, they are asked to provide 2 new words. Okay? Yung 2 new words na yon, they will define the words and then use them in sentences, tapos iiwanan nila yung word na yon doon sa aming word bank. Okay, so everyday yon, everyday silang papasok doon, dapat meron silang laging may bagong dalang new word or new vocabulary that can be included in the word bank. Okay, naging effective siya when I was still teaching in college, but not as effective as that when I already entered DepEd I think the difference is yung quality ng mga students. I'm not saying na hindi naman quality yung mga students namin, but siguro yung classroom environment, tapos yung environment din siguro nila at home, because most of our students are under the TVL or the technical vocational course. Okay, so yun lang. Or sometimes we can also provide printed posters and magpupost tayo sa ating mga classrooms, or slides of the songs to develop the students' concepts of print while we sing inside our classrooms. Okay, so let's have the fourth component. Medyo malapit na po tayong matapos. Nasa fourth component na tayo, teach and extend vocabulary and conceptual knowledge. Okay, as children develop, they need to be able to draw on different sets of vocabulary, and as such, teachers need to be mindful of these different sets when selecting words for instruction. Okay, so napaka-importante sa mga bata or sa mga learners natin to develop knowledge of words and their meanings from an early age. And to this end, they need to be actively engaged in vocabulary development. Importante po yun sa mga bata na as early as siguro kindergarten, o kaya grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, they already have developed this knowledge of word meanings. Okay? Because a vocabulary for academic learning is linked to the teaching of concepts. When a concept is completely unfamiliar to the student or to the learner, they need to develop an understanding of the concept first, and then vocabulary can be introduced. If the concept is familiar to the children, new vocabulary is introduced in order to connect new words to an already familiar or understood concept. Okay? So, pag nagtuturo tayo ng vocabulary plan, pwede nating gawin ito yung we teach individual words. We teach individual words, or teaching synonyms, antonyms, root words, suffixes or prefixes. Meron din yung mga direct word meaning, and so on and so forth. We also have teaching word learning strategies such as words in context, definitions, or word maps, and fostering an awareness and love of words and language such as multiple meanings, word games, or word of the week. Pwedeng ganon. Or word of the day. Pwede rin ganon. Para mas maging effective yung itong component for natin, yung teach and extend vocabulary and conceptual knowledge. Okay. Interesting vocabulary facts. It has been found that by the age of 3, children from lower income families know 600 fewer words than children of the same age from families with higher income. Okay, so that is a research from Hart and Risley in 1995. So in order for children to become proficient readers, they need to learn 5 to 6 new words per day, 38 words per week, 2,000 new words a year, and 10,000 by the age of 6. Okay, is that even possible? As teachers, possible ba yan na we can learn 38 words per week, 2,000 words a year, and 10,000 by the age of ano na bang edad natin ngayon? Okay, so if that's the case, then maybe we must put more effort to learning new vocabularies or to learning new words, para mas maging effective na role models tayo inside our classroom to our learners or to our students. And finally, the fifth component is to promote auditory memory. Paano ba yung auditory memory na sinasabi natin? Okay, so auditory memory involves the ability to assimilate information presented orally, to process that information, store it, and recall what has been heard. Essentially, it involves the task of attending, listening, processing, storing, and recalling. Okay, so remembering what was heard or listened to, yan yung promote auditory memory. A weakness in auditory memory can be or can have serious consequences for learning, because learners may only pick up some of what it is being said during a class lesson. Weaknesses in auditory memory can easily go undetected by the teacher. Most especially nowadays when our students are rarely listening to us, they do not really listen attentively to us because they are busy with their gadgets, or their minds are flying, physically present but mentally absent. Yan yung nagiging problema natin, and those problems also has many factors or many components, such as if the learner did not take his breakfast. Okay? Pag gutom siya, hindi siya nakakarinig ng maayos, or hindi siya mag-focus ng maayos in our lessons. Okay? So children with auditory memory problems appear to be trying really hard to listen. They cannot focus on what the teacher is saying because their eyes are focused on the teacher and they appear to be attentive. It is easy for the teacher to assume that these children have heard and taken in all that is being taught. However, in reality, alam naman natin ito, they often absorb and make sense out of a very little of what is being mediated by the teacher. At anong nagiging resulta? These students recall only a small amount of information or none of what is being said by the teacher. They might remember a word, or part of a thought or part of the idea that the teacher shared to them without truly understanding much of the information presented orally to them. Kaya nga siguro noon yung pagpapakopya ng mga teachers natin is very effective because once a student gets home, binabasa niya. But I think it is not really effective today pag magpapakopya ka kasi ang gagawin ng mga bata, they will just get their phones and then try to take a photo of the lesson in your blackboard or in your PowerPoint presentation. Tapos hindi naman nila babasahin yan. Neither do we, di ba? Neither do we. Pag nag-attend tayo ng mga seminars, pag nag-flash sila ng information sa PowerPoint or slide presentation, pinipicture natin, pero are we really reading yung mga pictures na kinuha natin during the seminar? Definitely not. Kaya it is very important for us to take down notes while we are attending seminars or workshops. Kung sa atin nga hindi natin ginagawa, how can we ask our students to do the same? Diba? So these students with auditory memory deficiencies frequently experience difficulty in comprehending orally presented ideas or directions. They often think that they have understood the directions for completing their task, but when they become engaged in tasks, they often ask for help or indeed ask for the teacher to repeat the instruction. Ayan. Kaya nga, minsan naiinis na tayo pag sinabi natin, okay class, get 1/4 sheet of paper. We are going to have a quiz. Tapos sasagot naman yung learner, ma'am, 1/4, ma'am. Di ba tinatanong pa nila? I just said that you put out 1/4. O kaya sasabihin mo, magpa-flash ka ng question sa yung PowerPoint presentation. Read the statement carefully and then answer true or false. Tapos nabasa na nila yung directions, tatanong ulit, ma'am, copy and answer ba? Or sir, copy and answer ba? Di ba, nandun na nga sa direction. So sometimes yung verbal instruction natin or yung oral instruction natin are not as effective to those who have deficiencies in auditory memory. Kaya minsan kailangan natin ulit-ulitin. Okay? So paano ba natin ma-develop itong auditory memory skills? Ayan, sobrang dami. Pwede natin siyang i-employ sa ating classroom. Repeat and use information, recite poems, and so on and so forth. Ibibigay din naman namin tong slide sa inyo. So basahin nyo na lang yan. So explicitly, we should teach our learners to be conscious of remembering important concepts. Diba? So that if they remember important concepts or the important skills and metacognitive strategies such as the think aloud, magiging effective sila dito sa ating fifth component, which is to promote auditory memory. So how do students improve their oral language development? Paano ba? Okay, first one is practice. That is the very first thing that we should teach our learners or students to practice oral language. The second one is practice pa rin, okay? Practice lang ng practice. And finally, the third one is, this is the most important among the factors that we can use so that our learners can improve their oral language, okay? Number 3 is practice, because practice makes perfect, okay? Yun lang yung dapat nating gawin. And nothing happens by chance. When it comes to oral language development, walang walang swerte. Dapat pinaghihirapan. Dapat pinagtutuunan ng pansin. Because if we want something to happen, then there should be something that has to be done. Because nothing happens by chance. So practice, 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 gawin, gawin, gawin para matuto yung mga learners natin. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Ayaw nang lumipat ng aking presentation. YOY. Okay, so let's take it from here, from a Chinese proverb. It says, I hear and I forget, I listen and I remember, I do and I understand. Natin translate naman, tell me and I'll forget, show me and I may not remember, involve me and I'll understand. Ito ang application natin. Since Ma'am Jonah is going to have outputs, ito po yung kailangan natin. Write a brief lesson plan using the given competencies for your respective grade level, and then develop your own version of activities suggested in any of the 5 components of oral language component targeting the competencies given to you. Yung magiging output niyo po dito, ibibigay niyo po kay Ma'am Jonalyn dahil po kailangan po yan ni Ma'am Jonalyn bilang our proponent ng ating district seminar. Yan na po yung mga sagot kanina. Okay? And before I bid goodbye, may I just share to you this. Reading and writing float on a sea of talk, and the limits of your language are the limits of your word. Okay? So the limits of your language are the limits of your word. With that, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share to you my ideas and my knowledge on this topic, and surely I will be seeing you again on Friday because I was given another topic which is on facts and opinion. Okay, so thank you very much for listening and participating in my discussion, and may I turn the floor to our MC today, Ma'am Fershalen Belen. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you very much, sir, for your knowledge, for giving us your knowledge and imparting your strategies and methods in such activities for our students so that we could develop their reading skills. So with that, sir, we would like to give you a certificate of recognition. So here is the text. Certificate of recognition is awarded to Dr. Roland P. Omangay in grateful recognition for his invaluable contribution as resource speaker on building communicative competence through oral language instruction during the district webinar workshop in English on remedial reading and literacy instruction conducted on October 27 to 29, 2021, given this 27th day of October 2021, signed our overall chairperson, Jonalyn M. Casipit. Signed, Ma'am Catherine B. Operanya, our Public Schools District Supervisor. Signed, Ma'am Marilo D. Rodan, our Education Program Specialist in English. So let's give a virtual clap for our last speaker for the afternoon, Sir Roland P. Umangay. Thank you po,
Thank you
sir.
very much. Thank you po.
So, bago po tayo umalis, mga ma'am, Please open your cam for photo opportunity po. Please open your cam po together with our last speaker, Sir Roland Umangay. So we will have a photo opportunity with him. Please open your cam po. Ma'am Gretchen po, Ma'am Rhea, Ma'am Jerlyn. So while waiting for them to open their cam, please don't forget to answer the evaluation link in our chat box. Binigay na po dyan sa ating chat box yung evaluation link for our speakers. So please, gawin po natin yon. So, ready po? Mag-smile na po tayo. Okay, so ready? 1, 2, 3, smile!
Nakaano ko.
Okay, isa pa po. 1, 2, 3, smile po. So thank you very much to our participants, especially to Pangasinan National High School, the teachers of Pangasinan National High School headed by their head teacher, Ma'am Miriam Iton, and their principal, Ma'am Elvira Beray, together with the Pangasinan School of Arts and Trades teachers, and by our head teacher, Ma'am Mary Ann Soriano, and our principal, Ma'am Rosario C. Ferrer. So, bigyan po natin ng virtual clap ang lahat. Thank you very much po, especially sa mga participants po, even they are in other school. Thank you for participating here in our district webinar workshop. Thank you very much po. So, do we have some additional information or announcement, Ma'am Mary Ann? Meron po ba? Bago po natin i-end ang ating webinar. So, tomorrow po ulit, 8 o'clock, di ba, Ma'am Jonah?
Yes po. Yes po.
And then, don't forget po yung registration link po, mga ma'am, para po meron tayong certificate. So, last announcement po for Ma'am Mary Ann, our head teacher, kung meron pong announcement, ma'am.
Alam mo, nag-start.
Open niyo po yung niyo, ma'am. Microphone niyo po.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, especially the teachers coming from PNHS. We have Ma'am Jerlyn, Ma'am Tandingan, Ma'am Galisteros, and Ma'am Aminda. So thank you for joining. Pakisabi sa inyong head teacher, si Ma'am Iton, si Ma'am Miriam. Thank you very much. So tomorrow, anong start ulit, Ma'am Jonah?
8 o'clock ulit.
Okay, so see you again tomorrow.
Meron
Yung later na tingnan nyo na lang yung message ko because this is for the English teachers na isa. Okay? So thank you.
Thank you very much po sa ating lahat. So, see you again tomorrow. So, at 8 o'clock po, don't forget the registration and the evaluation form or link. So, again, thank you and goodbye po. Bye!
Dito ma'am ito.
Doon po, sir. Pangalan po, sir.
Dominic Charis.
Po.
Dominic Charis. Market.
Dominic Charis.